Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. Protests have continued in French cities for a third night following the fatal shooting of a teenager by a policeman at a traffic stop in a suburb of Paris on Tuesday. The Interior Minister, Gérald Darmanin, said there'd been more than 100 arrests. Public transport has been halted across the Paris region and local curfews imposed in some suburban areas. Regina Vaidyanathan is in Nanterre, where the teenager was killed.
This is an ethnically diverse neighbourhood, and some people that we spoke to said that they feel that the police isn't actually working to protect them. We're also getting reports of unrest across the country, including in places further afield, such as Marseille. It's unclear how bad things could be tonight, but certainly the authorities were bracing themselves for further unrest.
The head of the UN Children's Agency has urged the world not to abandon the people of Haiti, saying it's going through an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. The UN has been calling for the deployment of an international force to restore order in the country. Our Americas editor Leonardo Rocha has this report.
Briefing journalists after her visit to Haiti, Catherine Russell said gangs now controlled 60% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and many other areas. The UNICEF director said criminals were using the widespread rape of children and women as a weapon to intimidate and destroy entire communities. She said Haitians and the UN team on the ground told her the situation there had never been worse.
A BBC investigation has found that the Wagner mercenary group is still recruiting fighters across Russia days after staging a mutiny against the country's military leadership. Sarah Rainsford has the details.
We called hotlines for the Wagner group in multiple cities, and those who picked up all confirmed that they were recruiting as usual. From Kaliningrad to Krasnodar, they were still signing men up to go and fight in Ukraine. And these were contracts with Wagner itself, not the Russian Defence Ministry. Nothing has changed, we were told, at the many fight centres and boxing clubs we called. That is extraordinary, given that Wagner members took over a city and were marching on Moscow just days ago, shooting down several helicopters on their way and killing the crews. Wagner's refusal to transfer into the regular army is what sparked that mutiny, and it is clear they're still resisting being disbanded even now.
A huge explosion close to the headquarters of Sudan's army has rocked the capital Khartoum as fighting continues between the country's two rival military factions. The source of the blast has not been verified and there has been no word on casualties, but reports say residents across the city felt the impact. Columns of smoke were seen in the vicinity of the military complex in the city centre. It comes despite separate unilateral truces that had been announced by the warring generals to mark the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha. World News from the BBC. A former police officer who failed to confront a man who killed 17 people at a school in Florida 5 years ago has been cleared of wrongdoing. Scott Peterson had faced 11 charges after the shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in the city of Parkland. David Willis reports.
The trial heard that despite arriving at the scene of the shooting shortly after the gunman, Nicholas Cruz, had opened fire, 60-year-old Mr. Peterson chose to wait for backup rather than intervene. He's thought to be the first law enforcement officer to stand trial in this country in relation to their conduct during a school shooting. An investigation is currently underway into the actions of police at a school in Texas, where officers waited more than an hour before entering classrooms in which 19 pupils aged between 9 and 11 were shot dead.
Mexico's government says that the country's ongoing extreme heat wave has led to the deaths of more than 100 people in June alone. The latest health ministry figures attributed over 1,000 emergencies this month to the hot conditions. Temperatures have risen past 45 degrees Celsius in some areas in recent weeks. Research has found that prisoners across the world are 9 times more likely to contract tuberculosis than the general population. The study is the first to estimate the rate of TB in the world's prisons. It also found a strong relationship between the disease and overcrowding in jails. Astronomers have used an observatory embedded in the ice of the Antarctic to capture a view of our home galaxy that's never been seen before. Using thousands of sensors on long cables buried under the South Pole, scientists were able to detect ghost particles called neutrinos emitted from the Milky Way. The particles are made when cosmic rays rattling around space at near light speed smash into other matter and have been, until now, very difficult to detect. The team behind the research say the results reveal some of the fundamental processes in our home star system. BBC News.